Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first Mancast on Monday. We've got a great guest to kick things off. So it's 10 o'clock on Monday morning. You're looking nice and fresh. Tara Dillon, how are you this morning?
Morning, Mike.
Everything good?
I've done a 20-mile bike ride and ready for 10 o'clock with you.
Oh, so you've taken it easy this morning?
Yeah.
And Dave, how are you? Apart from your shirt, how's life?
I like my shirt. I thought I needed to get dressed up for the occasion. Yeah, really good at the minute. Good weekend, lots of exercise, so that's all good. Yeah, very positive at the moment.
Excellent. So before we get into the real meat of things, Tara, quick question. How are you managing to stay healthy and active in these difficult times then? Really interested in what you're doing personally.
I've got to be honest, Mike, to start off with, I really struggled to find the time. I think the nature of what we do at CIMSPA means that we needed to be really responsive and quick. So the first couple of weeks of this imposed government intervention were crazy. I mean, I was working 7 in the morning till midnight that first week. I managed 80 hours. And I felt it. I felt like I was hit by a bus the second week. So I thought, right, hang on, live and breathe what we are doing. Let's factor in time. So yeah, every lunchtime I'm making sure I'm getting out, even if it's just with the dogs, just get out, do a run, do a walk, just get something done. My other half's a Joe Wicks fanatic. I'm not really fancying becoming Spider-Man in the morning.
So you're not getting down with the kids?
I'm way too cool for that, Mike, as you know. But so yes, I am. And do you know what? It's quite nice to be able to just think, hang on a minute, I've got time here. I can plan my day. I can do this. Whereas normally, as you guys know, we're all in the car and I'm, working at breakneck speed, got to go to the next meeting. And actually the travel time that I've bought enables me to do a bit more exercise and the other thing as well is I'm eating better. I'm eating well.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to hear.
Down my neck, en route to
yeah, excellent. It's finally happened, Tara. It's only taken 10 years.
Yes. 10.
Mike, she didn't say she was becoming vegan. She said she was eating healthier.
Yeah.
No, I was just waiting for her to say she's eating an awful lot of pizza, but we won't go there.
That's not this conversation, Mike. There's another one for that.
That's another conversation. What about yourself, Dave? What have you been up to?
Well, a bit like Tara, I suppose. Less time in the car, which has been good. Managed to exercise most days, running 5K. Got it down to about a 5:31 average now, so I'm quite pleased with that. But it's also about keeping Olivia entertained. My lawn has been absolutely battered from hockey training, tennis training, hurling. We've just created a table tennis table with a decorating table and Coke cans. It's all of that sort of being creative around our sport. So yeah, been good. But the eating bit is really interesting because I don't think anybody else at Aldi likes the things that Joe and I like. Because every time we go shopping, everything we want's there. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's been good. So yeah, all that's really positive. But I think, Tara, what I wanted to say was, because you obviously, you're saying you're really busy and stuff, but I've got to say the response from CIMSPA and the boys and girls there has just been fantastic. And just seeing the work you guys are doing to pull the sector together, to get the big voices heard, to make sure that we're starting to think about recovery, I think has been brilliant. So I'd just like to give my congratulations to you and the team for what CIMSPA have done in the past 10 days. It's just been fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Dave. That's really good to know. It's important to know. When you're head down and reacting as fast as you possibly can. Hello. Thank you. Charger required. Is that you don't have time actually to come and check, did that land well? Did it resonate? So we're in receipt of information. Can you do? And the answer is yes, we can. And we have a strategy. We work to it. We all do. We're all business people. But being able to react so quickly, to hear it, to put it through the machine and then make sure it lands is it's been the biggest test of my career. I've never known anything like it. I'm sure everybody's the same. But yeah, it's weird. And my team are just, we've never been so busy.
Yeah.
Busy before, but right now it's incredible. But you know, that it's so important that professional bodies, we're working so well with UK Active and the guys at Sport England. It's so important that we show our mettle right now, because you know, we love this sector, don't we? And it, you know, for it to be shut, you know, it's just terrifying. You know, you just could never have imagined this would ever happen to our sector. And yet look at us all, we're still active, we're still maximising opportunities, we're still talking. You know, I don't hear negativity, I hear nothing but positivity. So yeah, the first 2 weeks were about reacting to the now and making sure that the sector could access funding so it could survive through this crazy whatever it is. But now my head, and I've just come off with a call last week with Hugh and UK Active, now we're talking about, let's start preparing for a phased return. Let's make sure this great sector is good to go on the day that we get the green light. So, and the other thing as well, you know, CIMSPA might take some credit for the work it's doing. It's not difficult pulling in good ideas from people who want to help. That's been, you know, a standout for me when I look back at this will be the number of people who've picked up the phone or dropped an email saying, we've got a great idea to support the sector, it's free, will you host it, will you share it? And innovated. And the amount of benevolence shown and support and this sort of coming together, you know, we standing shoulder to shoulder because we all want a sector on the other side of it. It's astounded me, and I'm delighted it's astounded me. What a nice surprise to have.
Yeah, I think from Legend's experience, we've not had one bad conversation with a supplier or a client. It's all been incredibly positive, and everyone understanding how that the adjustments we need to make to try and keep the supply chain just in place. Even if it's not flowing, you know, at least it's still in place and those relationships aren't being broken. So this session is meant to be focusing all about you know, managing that recovery experience, Tara. Do you actually think that we're in that stage yet, where we should start thinking about, you know, what we're going to do the other end? How is the sector going to recover, or are we still in this limbo stage where it's difficult to do that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, I guess, Mike. You know, we're in the second week in April now, and I think, you know, early June before we start, we'll be certain to be able to have a phased approach back. And so the dilemma is for a lot of organisations who want to be thinking about recovery and returning back to normal, the now is, have I got enough cash to get me to the next payroll? How do I survive? And so it's difficult to know how to strike that balance, and I don't know where the fulcrum is there right now. I think in the next week it will be clearer. The dilemma at the moment, of course, we heard last week on Friday that, you know, 130,000 businesses had applied for the government loans and only 1,000 had got through. So it's whether or not we're going to survive. You know, seeing people go under whilst waiting for the support they're eligible for would be an absolute travesty. However, I think what CIMSPA and UK Active and Sport England and others can do, PHE, YST, what we can do is start preparing for that, so that when an organisation is able to come up for air, we've got some oven ready solutions that we can share with the sector. We have a little more time. We have a little bit more resource. This is our function. My function isn't to understand how to keep the pool open or are furloughed right now, or, you know, managing cash flow like most of the leisure operators are, having fights with local authorities or whatever's going on. Our job is to make sure that we're ahead of that curve. So in answer to the question, I wouldn't expect all operators to be thinking that. I would say, just chatting to operators in the last couple of weeks, I would say a quarter, Mike, there. And the other 25 just can't right now. So our job is to, okay, let's get ahead of this on your behalf then, and let's have something that's ready and scalable for the day we get the green light. And about, pulling those partners, those supporting partners that I talked about earlier, together.
And how much do you think, where do you sit in this debate about, nothing's ever going to be the same, everything's changed, or alternatively, no, it's going to go back pretty much back to normal with a few little tweaks? I'm particularly thinking about this concept of digitalisation of the leisure, health and fitness experience. Which camp would you say you sit in?
Both.
Right.
But what we need to do as a sector is remain, be good at what we're good at, right? So I think that the public are going to want to get out, right? So I think the first thing is going to have is a great big party. The pubs will be okay for a bit, but people are going to want to back into their routine. Lots of people I'm talking to is, I can't wait for the gym to be open. So I think our members are sticky. I think we're seeing that. I think old members, members who've lapsed will probably have revisited some old habits and say, that worked, I'm getting better. So we need to be ready to be good at what we're good at. The whole digital thing, it's an important conversation. And 2 weeks ago, I would have said that, right, we need to chuck all of our resources into digitalizing our product, and this is definitely the new way it's going to be. I've kind of thinking ever so slightly on that, which is we definitely need to be looking at it, and we need to be ready. Definitely need to be ready, because to have not been able to service a cohort of people who are newly active, to not be able to provide them would be indefensible as a sector. I've been in this sector 33 years, and in 33 years we have been trying to get people more active, and not been great at it, not across the piece. In a matter of days, 50% of the population suddenly is active, right? So to miss that opportunity would be indefensible of us. So yes, we do need to look at utilising that product. But
do you think? Sorry. Do you think? And I don't think there's any research and stats out about this yet, because obviously it's almost impossible to do any research at the moment. But from my personal experience, yes, I see more people out and about walking and running, and even on their bikes. My big question mark is: are they people that weren't active before, or are they the gym and leisure centre people who now are just swapping in other stuff because they can't go to the gym or leisure centre? Have you heard anyone else talking about this?
My where I live is these suddenly got active. There's no question about that.
Right.
And my family and my sort of wider circle of friends are all telling me that they're starting to do stuff that they didn't do before. Okay, so that's anecdotal.
Yeah.
The answer to that is yes. So but the challenge is, so I think we need to ask the question. I've produced a sort of draft survey that could be run. I'm talking to UK Active about it this week. So we start asking people, were you active before? Is this new to you? Why have you done it? Is it through fear? Is it something you were thinking about anyway? Was it to relieve the boredom of the kids? What motivated you? Where did you find it? Was it online? Is it because it was free? Do you have more time? Then the next question, of course, is, would going back and getting back to your old routine stop you from being active, or is this something now that you want to continue? In which case, how do you want to receive it?
Yeah.
And that should form our thinking, and we need to do that now. And that needs to form our thinking about how far we go with digitalisation. Would employers take a view, and I'm sure a lot of them are looking at this, across the UK's economy, not just our sector? How has this flexible working arrangement shaped their thinking?
Yeah.
Are we measuring productivity? Certainly at CIMSPA, we're trying to measure how it's changed how business runs. Was it more effective? Are we more efficient? And I'm hoping that's economy wide, because I think the human psyche is going to change. I think people are going to understand what's important.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a kind of value reset. Time with my family is important. My work-life balance is important. I did spend time with my kids. I did get some exercise in the day. I do feel better for it. I don't need to work 11 million hours a week. I still got the job done. And I think employers need to be really, really cognizant of the power of that.
Yeah.
And therefore, creating digital models to ensure that, Sporting England got this stay in, work out. Well, we need another campaign, which is at work, work out. Because that's the biggest opportunity. If people have established patterns and they're okay with Joe Wicks at 9:30, let's do it at 9:30, but in the office, right? So there's 100 things we should be looking at. But I do think, I think for us to just go back to normal and allow it to slip back to normal, as a sector would be very, very remiss. I think we've got a huge opportunity
now
to speak to this cohort and make no assumptions. Let's go and ask the question, and let's build a product around the answers. What a fantastic opportunity.
Tara, we haven't got a lot of time left. It's amazing how quickly 15 minutes disappears. But I've alluded to the fact Olivia's missing hockey, and I'll be honest, I'm missing hockey as well. I play Badgers hockey once a week. And yes, we've talked about physical activity and we've talked about the leisure centre, etc. But of course, sport plays a really important part in a lot of people's lives, which we all haven't been able to do for a very long time. So have you got any views around sport?
Absolutely, Dave. I think sport and physical activity, when I speak about leisure centre, I forget sometimes that it's across the piece. And I think, some of the questions in this draft that I've come up with is, has this sparked a long-held desire to get back into a sport that you used to play, or something that you quite fancy? Did you want to join that netball club? Do you want to go and play walking football? Do you know that there are community activities and community hubs out there? I'm an absolute ardent fan of This Girl Can. I think it's an outstanding campaign. If I had a criticism of it, it missed a word, which is This Girl Can Here. So that's another opportunity that we could do in terms of sport and community sport and sport on your door, is taking the purist out of this and just saying, do you know what? There is activity everywhere within 20 minutes of where you live, and having sort of developing some sort of aspirational concept on the back of this crisis, which is an opportunity. So, do you want to elevate to the next stage of, I do fancy netball, I do fancy a game of hockey. I miss hockey, but that's because I'm an old crock and my knee's gone. But
I must be older than you, Tara. Must be older than you.
I don't know if you can carry a shirt off like that. I'm going to say
that's just him trying to look young, not be young.
My glasses.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap things up. Otherwise, this is going to turn into a 30-minute conversation. So I really appreciate. I know you're incredibly busy at the moment, so really appreciate you taking time out to launch this series, Monkhouse Mondays. I do love that name, so I'm going to keep using it. Yes. So listen, thanks a lot. Next week, we're going to be talking to Chris Phillips from Data Hub, and the focus is going to be on data and insight. I think you'll agree that's going to be absolutely crucial when we come back out of this, particularly if there is going to be more of a digital experience. It obviously gives us a lot of opportunity to grab even more data and insight on our users. Dave, any final words before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, Tara. I know you're busy, and just to reinforce, a really good job. Really impressed with the stuff that's coming out on social media, and also the CIMSPA hub, and just the suppliers that are out there, the training providers, the training awarding organisations that are really working hard to create some great content. It's fantastic.
Right.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, just a closing thing from me. Dave, you mentioned the hub. I mentioned all this support. For those of you who want access to guidance and support advice, just go to our landing page. It's right in front of your face. It says it's called Together. just click on it.
Okay.
Loads and loads of resource there to help the sector during this crisis.
Brilliant.
Thank you
Lovely.
very much.
Thanks a lot,
Cheers,
Tara.
Tara.
Take care.
Cheers.